Toastmaster Umamaheswari, unleashed before learning. Unlearn before learning. Toastmaster Umamaheswari. Over to you, Toastmaster Umamaheswari.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Rajeshwari. So good morning, fellow Toastmasters and this. So when we are in Toastmasters, we used to take up a pathway to improve ourselves based on our goal, based on what we want to learn. And we'll select one pathway and we'll go on. But have you ever wondered after completing one or two pathways, which will be the biggest challenge, which will be the biggest, toughest speech which we want to give? Any guesses?
Reflecting on the path.
Yeah, that is obviously the most difficult one. But there is one more.
Icebreaker.
Yes,
Icebreaker.
Toastmaster Suresh. The ice is already broken a couple of times. And what is there to break furthermore? What is there I can give on an icebreaker speech? That was the first challenge I faced when I took this pathway. But then I realized that is a real challenge for me. That is the real test for me as a Toastmaster. How am I going to give an icebreaker speech for a set of people who already know me? Along with that, the Toastmaster of the day will also be introducing me. So everyone will have an idea about me, what else I can tell about myself. So that was the first challenge I faced. But I learned, yes, you are learning every day something new. Why don't you incorporate that in your icebreaker speech? Why you should tell Uma? Who is Uma? What is Uma? No, you can tell who are you before that pathway and before you join Toastmasters and after join Toastmasters. Who are you before a year before, and who are you now? So you can tell a lot of things about you. So I learned one concept. Don't just be stereotyped. If you want to tell about introduction, there is no specific format of introduction. You can give it in any way. That was the first thing I learned when I entered this project. And then the next thing I learned was a very beautiful thing. Like, I realized I'm filling a filled teacup. Many of us would have heard the story, right? A king who wants to learn knowledge went to a sage and asked the sage, I just want to learn many things from you. I have went to a lot of teachers, lot of gurus. I have learned a lot of things from them. So it will not be difficult for you to train me. So why don't you take me as your disciple? He asked that sage. The sage simply smiled and said to the king, come, let's have a cup of tea. He made the king sit in front of him. He kept a teacup in front of the sage and he started pouring in the cup. The cup got filled, but the sage didn't stop. He kept on pouring in the cup. The king was shocked and he asked the sage to stop. The cup is already full. You can't pour anything more in it. Why don't you stop? The sage smiled and said to the king, yes, you are like that filled teacup. Whatever knowledge I give you, you can never take it in because you're already full. Why don't you empty yourself and come back to me so I can fill your teacup? That was the beautiful lesson I learned in this pathway. I may have learned a lot of things taking up a previous pathway, but that doesn't mean that I don't have anything to learn more. That means I'm looking the world or looking my learning in a tinted glass or in a filtered square box. I'm not looking beyond that. I should need to look more. What else I can learn? I need to make myself empty. I need to make myself unlearn myself, make myself empty to pour more inside me, to learn more. Not to have the superior complex that I have already learned a lot of things. No one in the world is completely perfect. I learned that in this pathway as I went through a lot of projects, speeches, when I started getting feedback. I went through all, as the first level, I went through a lot of things like writing the speech with purpose, vocal variety, body language, evaluation and feedback. When I went to the evaluation and feedback area, I started slowly developing a lethargicness. What's a big deal? Already given a lot of speeches in this title. What's a big deal? But when I get the feedback on the first evaluation, see, you can stand up and talk. You can use more of your body language. Use your screen space. The smaller things. That is when I realized I started concentrating on larger picture and discarding the smaller, minute details which can enhance my speech. So I started realizing the lethargicness is getting built in me. I'm becoming more relaxed and I'm not in the path of learning. I came back to my original path, decided, yes, I should learn when I'm giving speeches, not for the sake of giving speeches. That time, my mentor, distinguished Toastmaster Satish Menon, gave me a suggestion. Why don't you create a concept but try giving impromptu speech? Construct sentence on the spot. Have the concept ready, but construct sentence on the spot. That will give you a challenge. That will give you a knowledge and enlightening where you are, how you are in the level of giving speech. Because my ultimate goal is to become a public speaker. To become a motivational speaker or a public speaker, I should have this capability. And I decided, let me try that in this pathway. I started creating concepts, the base concept which I should talk about, but I never created any speech. I started giving speech on the spot, on the day when I have to give the speech for my pathways. And I learned I'm very bad at it. I started giving it again and again. I learned that I'm using the same set of words. I'm not creating any new vocabulary, not creating any new interesting sentences. At that time, I realized I need to improve on that. And so on went with my projects, my speeches, the understanding my communication style. Then came another biggest challenge for me, body language. I was very bad in that. When I started my Toastmasters journey, I had a thought like, I'm a good speaker. I can speak well. But once I entered Toastmasters, I could not believe I'm getting so many comments on my voice modulation, body language, and everything. He said, you are so monotonous in talking. You're not giving a voice modulation at all. When I got that feedback, I was so shocked because I thought talking monotonous with no voice modulation is a professional way of speaking. I never realized it is not the way of speaking at all. I started incorporating voice modulation, but which was the biggest challenge for me. Because I'm not a very expressive type. So I kind of felt a little bit shy on using the body language, moving here, there, even a slight jumping, anything. I don't want to do it. I was a little bit shy in doing it because I have this concept of social anxiety, a little bit of social anxiety. What will people think about me? Then I realized instead of if I can't use body language, why don't I get some help to enhance my body language? I started using props. In one speech, I used a ladle from my kitchen, a chapati, a roti roller, along with a ladle from my kitchen to enhance my body language in the speech. And I used that for the body language project, and it was a good success. I realized if I can't able to do it completely, why don't I get help to enhance that quality? And my projects continued. I went for Toastmasters. I gave a speech on Toastmasters mentoring on persuasive speaking. That time I realized I was completely now in a place where I'm looking out on for others to give area of improvement and only follow that. Get feedback, improve, get feedback, improve. Never examining myself, never judging or never looking at myself internally. How am I doing? I was not even looking at my speeches. That time, I realized I am looking for someone to open the door for me, guide me towards a place where I can give good speeches, where I can become a better speaker. I never realized the keyhole to open the door is inside, not outside. It is me who should open the door, take a step out towards that point. I started realizing I need to look into myself along with the help of others. Started looking into my own speeches, to the recordings, seeing it from a third person point of view, how well I did, what are all the things I can improve myself. I started looking on those things and started to improve myself. And then my projects continued inspiring my audience, active listening. When it went to that part, now I was like learning something. Now I moved from learning to a point where I have some overconfidence. That time I realized I started doing things, giving speeches so that others can listen to me and give me some positives. Wow, Uma, you are so good in this. Uma, you're so good in that. I started giving speeches so that others can say about my positives and not in the point towards my goal, where I need to learn to improve myself towards the point of growth. I was not concentrating on my growth. At that time, I realized I shifted from my path, from my own path of travel. I was going on the sub-roads, subdivisions, way towards the prices, appreciations, appraisals, not on my own growth. I came back to my path where I started learning more to improve myself, not for the sake of others' appreciation, but for my satisfaction. And my speeches continue. I started giving speech on managing difficult audience, question and answer session. At that time, I developed a habit of starting but not finishing behavior. This is an interesting phenomena found by a famous psychologist called Michelle from Georgia. She's saying that many people developed this habit called emodiversity. Successful people develop this quality called emodiversity. It means once we start something, we'll have a heavy excitement. We'll do it with full josh. But slowly our excitement fades. Successful people realize this. Their excitement is fading. And then they will try to emerge that feeling, come back to path. Successful people understand the importance of staying in the path with that feeling, with that passion. It is not just going towards your goal. It is going towards your goal with the same passion with what you started. And I realize I need to have that passion. I should not create a behavior of starting but not finishing. And my projects continue. And I should say I'm still in the learning mode. I gave speeches on preparing to speak professionally, lessons learned on my projects and everything. And I should say I'm still on a learning mode. I learned something, but on upcoming pathways also, I will be learning more. But I realized I should not deviate from my goal. I should not deviate from my passion. And I should be open like an empty teacup where others can give their feedback, where I can fill that cup from with their knowledge so I can improve more. That time I realized Rome wasn't built a day. Rome wasn't built in a day, but is building enough. Once built, we are becoming relaxed. No. Even after built, we need to maintain it so that the building is strong, sturdy throughout all the time. That is my reflection on my path on this pathway presentation mastery. So I hope the same learnings I will do in the upcoming pathways as well. That let me close the session and hand it over to Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Umamaheswari. Thanks for giving such a wonderful speech along with a lot of takeaways.
Is a thought for Toastmasters Club. I would like to welcome the Toastmaster Sonal to evaluate Toastmaster Umamaheswari.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters and Toastmaster Umamaheswari in particular. Firstly, thank you, Uma, for taking us along your journey of growth from unlearning before learning. I think it was very well done. What I particularly liked about your speech today was you had questions. It was inundated with questions. Now, what happens when you ask questions is you involve the audience, especially in an online meeting. You grab the interest of the audience and ensure that we are invested in your meeting. Very well done. You also elicited response from the members of the audience. So you made us a part of your presentation. Very well done. The next thing that I liked about your speech was you took us along a journey. It was from where you started and how you progressed, and you substantiated each predicament that you faced with a anecdote. For example, between the sage and the disciple. So I could clearly visualize the cup and overflowing tea. And that's when I understood how to unlearn before you learn. Very well done. It paints a very vivid picture in our minds. And last, the thing what I also liked was the candidness. You were so frank about whatever you were saying. For example, when you say when complacency set in, You became complacent after a point, and how you challenged yourself after you had a word with your mentor, DTM Satish. So these are things that really stood out for me in your presentation. Now, to take your speech a notch higher, I have a few suggestions for you. And this is something that I have drawn from your speech itself. Maybe you do, I do encourage you to stand. Considering this was the last speech in your path, I wish you had stood up and delivered, because we could read more into your body language. You would have come across more authentically and naturally. The second one is, it's a long project. 10 to 12 minutes is a long project. You could have used a PowerPoint presentation to navigate through your speech more smoothly. These are the suggestions that I have for you, and maybe a little more dramatization. Express yourself more naturally. I was excited. I was more enthusiastic. Display your raw emotions, I would suggest. That being said, a brilliant presentation, and congratulations on your path completion, and I'm wishing you all the best, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster